Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun. Good morning, everybody. Hey, let me pull this in here. It is Wednesday and, I think we have housing numbers today. Well, we'll see. I'm sure interest rates are going to be moving around quite a bit again today. But I think that at this point, the news is probably going to turn towards what's going on in the Senate and Congress over the funding the government and extending the debt limits. So this could get interesting. Anyways, and by the way, sorry I'm a little bit late, but Ninja Trader didn't start up and everything. So that was my fault. I must not have clicked on the button. Anyways, it looks like it's loaded now, so let's pop over to the volume profile charts. So yesterday in the S&P 500 was like a real bloodbath. I mean, it was ugly. Recovering a little bit overnight, but I don't know. They kind of look poised to go for another run. Now, one of the big drivers here is that yields have increased so much, and yesterday they were increasing even more, although they reversed quite hard once the risk-off sentiment in the equity indexes really got started. So that's where we are over here. Just note that the yields have steepened quite considerably. You can't really see it in the 2 and 10, but you can definitely see it in the 10 and 30 and the 5 and 30. Here's 5 and 30. Is it? Yeah, this is the 5 and 30. Really steepened. Okay. Now coming over here onto oil. So some of this concern about growth may be hurting oil a little bit. But I mean, look at how high it's been up, because they're expecting this winter to be rough, and countries need that oil to supply their energy and heating needs. So yeah, that's going to get crazy. Now, gold and silver didn't do, the damage wasn't too bad yesterday, but they are down. Man, gold is not too far off from that, kind of these lows down in here. The dollar is getting stronger, so that's where it is coming now. Copper a little bit weaker. I don't know. I see that story here when saying that it's coming. Copper's coming down because of growth concerns in China, but I don't know. So far, it doesn't look like it's really moving that much. Now, the one that I found really interesting yesterday was that the Bitcoin was pretty depressed yesterday. So they seem to be following the equity indexes very much so. Like Bitcoin has basically just become a risk proxy. A lot of people are saying, no, it's like it's the new gold, and that's the reason why gold is doing poorly. No, gold is doing poorly because interest rates are rising. Bitcoin seems to be tracking the S&P 500 right now, which by the way, is how my theory says that it should. So anyways, and then we gotta come back here and look at the dollar real quick. Dollar up almost to 94. I mean, that's pretty crazy. That's pretty crazy. In fact, I think I got to come back here and look at the dollar on a daily basis. Yeah, we got to go back all the way back to like last year to see prices at those levels. That's pretty crazy, right? I remember when we were back here and people are like, oh, the dollar is going to get so weak, it's going to be so bad. And then, hey, it wasn't actually so bad. Dollar at 90 is actually pretty good. Okay, so, the robots. Yeah, let's turn the robot on. Well, it's after 6:30, but we didn't have any 6:30 news. So, I should turn that on. Turn on the text-to-speech too, didn't do that. Come back over here. Now, another thing that's happening, although we won't be here for it, but I believe starting at 11:30 Eastern Time.
Robots enabled at speculators at day trading and good morning to you.
Good morning. Man, I need a new mouse pad. I ordered a new mouse pad, but this mouse pad is just like cutting into my wrist. Anyways, I'm getting distracted. Focus up. At 11:30, there's going to be a central bank panel of sorts. So that's going to be very widely watched as well, because it's going to have like all of the big central bank presidents and all this other stuff. So interesting, this jigsaw window. They don't snap anymore. Oh, that one snaps. How come this is just this economic releases one doesn't? I wonder, maybe if I close it and open it back up. Economic releases. And now it snaps. That's so weird. Okay. Oh, by the way, Prakash Ali, welcome. Am I not? Let's see here. Is Sept joining? Can you not see me speaking? Now I'm confused. Now I'm concerned. No, I can see myself over here. I'm definitely going. Oh, am I going to be joining the conference at 11:30? No, I wish. I wish. I wish I can opine on central bank policy. Yep, it's an ECB forum. Now, let's see here. Okay, now, first thing I'm noticing is that the Treasury is not really moving this morning. Okay, well, I need to reload the data on this one. The E-mini is moving, the Treasury is not. Like, look. It's really not a lot of... There's not as much interest this morning. We do have... when is it? Let me... Oh, it's over here. Pending home sales at 10 o'clock is the only major news that we've got today. Let's see here. We got stuff tomorrow too, right? Let's come over to Forex Factory. This week, apply settings. Is there a way for me to set that that's like my preference? I have to look at that. Okay. So tomorrow we get final GDP. That's kind of important. Ooh, there's a buy in the Treasury. Okay, maybe there is some interest in the Treasury. I don't know. You know what I'm thinking of doing? I'm thinking of coming over in here and making some room so that I can move some of these and see my little order windows a little bit better. Do that one and the MES. Well, when I do that, that opens up a lot of space. A lot of space. Although it also makes the, how do we want to deal with that, though? Well, we can move these down. I don't know. Or I could keep it like that and have these over top of Discord. I think I'll do that for now. So that I can have the chat window take the full length. Well, let's hop around social media, see what they're doing. There was some significant buys there in the treasury though, so just keep an eye on it. I wonder what that was about. Do I have... Oh, well, let's see here. I got to come through... Oh, I don't have financial juice turned on. U.S. Undersecretary for Arms Control for International Security. The U.S. is seeking more information on North Korea's hypersonic missile test. They have a hypersonic missile in North Korea? That's not good. That's not good. Okay, what are they saying over here in the treasuries? Dollar Shadows shopping for camping equipment. Stores are running out of basic things again. Also, people are beginning to hoard toilet paper. Same here in PA. Grocery stores missing a lot of items, but this time I'm done with the toilet paper game. Bought a few packs of washcloths. No TP, no problem. What? Craig. Craig. Oh my gosh. Okay, so Greg is shorting ZF. I've been watching the ETH since the open. It's active, yes, in that 20-point range. In regards to I don't know or not knowing, all the futures aren't possible to predict. Just trying to get a position that offers a review. Okay. Alligator says he has an up bias. It's a bond bloodbath. It's forced selling because of Evergrande. Too many treasuries without the Fed. If anything is unusual about the current rate move, it's how small it is in comparison to the September-October months, making more molehills into mountains. The alligator says energy prices don't matter so much overall. Supply chain bottlenecks may limit growth but won't break it. But bank balance sheet is key at the moment for next month's, in my opinion, main risk source. Yeah. Oh, Greg is here this morning. How are you doing, dude? There are some, especially in the interest rates, there are some times when we know what's going to happen. This whole rise in interest rates, we had been talking about it for weeks. And it's really crazy to go back and look. Like let's go back to the chart here. Where is it? Daily 60. Switch that over to the 10-year treasury. Okay. Let's see here. Last there was the 23rd, right? Yep, 22nd, 23rd. Okay, so this right here was the FOMC. When the Federal Reserve put into their statement that the tapering of asset purchases, may be necessary. Okay. And everybody was like, it's no big deal. Look at that. Look at that. Isn't that crazy? That's crazy. You could have sold it. Just straight up sold it. I mean, that's what I did. I straight up sold it there. And then I made like this. I made like this and thought it was done. Oh man. I really bungled that one. It's so funny that over in here, I think I did this one. I did the short and I made something off of that. And then it came back up and I was like, crap. Right. But then this one, I didn't try and hold it. So I'm going to need to work on that. But yeah, could you have known that this was going to happen? Yes, you could have. I mean, the Federal Reserve like literally told us what was going to happen, and it was almost like the market ignored it. Ace here early this morning too. We didn't finish the discussion about waffles yesterday, but he needs circular waffles. Do your kids really care that the waffles are circular? That's so funny. That sounds like something dumb that well, I don't know if my kids would be that bad. I have to say, so like, no, they don't care. Okay. So the waffle iron that I was showing you, the thing that I didn't mention about it is that it flips over. Like you just turn the whole thing over and it can sit on the other side. So that you get a good waffle that, is full and stuff. But anyways, and it's, good quality metal iron. That's why it's $200. But no, my kids are pretty picky. My wife is pretty picky. Like it is almost always like with her, it's like we go to a restaurant and she'll order something new, and it's almost always the case that when she orders something new that she doesn't like it and complains about it. every time. And then the kids, it's like, yeah, if you cook something new or it looks different, they don't want to eat it, right? But my sister's kids, holy crap, they are so picky. They will I was there. They were there last weekend, and at my parents' house, and they cooked a oven baked pizza for them, and they didn't want to eat it. They didn't want. Can you believe a kid so picky? They won't eat pizza? What? For real? No, that's really what happened. What did you get short at? Well, J is long at 43.59 and a quarter. Wow, Kathy Wood's ARK Invest dumped 340,000 shares of Tesla. Let's see here. And the dollar did just make a little turn there, but it looks bullish. The best waffle makers. Have I read that article? Let me see. Dash Mini Maker. Best classic round. Blah, blah, blah. Best square, a dash. Best compact, Hamilton. Yeah, Hamilton's okay. If I was going to go for the round one, I'd get like one of these, like the Black & Decker or something. Vertical. That's odd. Waffle bowl. That's one I've never seen before. Mickey Mouse. Norwegian style waffles. I've never seen that. Well, they did. They have that for the crops or the croquet. Oh, that's really weird. Oh, okay. So like the one that was in the image at the very top. So a Krups is a good Belgian style waffle maker. I know too much about like I don't know very much about waffles, but I feel like I know too much. Krups is also a Belgian company, or a Dutch company rather, and they yeah, they're pretty good. They're pretty good waffle makers, but it's not as good as the croquette. It's just the croquette in part because you're importing it, but then also because it has a very high quality heating coil in it, and it's real iron metal. Like, you know, the metal is expensive, and that's why it's $239, and it includes 2 types of plates. From Williams Sonoma. Yeah, those are good. Those are pretty good. Hey, Greg shows me a picture of one where it's poured in from the top. That is so weird. That's what I want. That's my wife is getting that for me for Christmas. I told her that's what she's getting. That's what she's getting me for Christmas. You know what the dumb thing is with this is that it's basically like, okay, we're gonna decide what we want for Christmas, right? And then but then she never picks anything. The one time she picked something. Oh my gosh, the one time she picked something that was like she wanted Bose noise canceling headphones, because she's a flight attendant, so she's on the plane a lot. And so I got her those. Big mistake, because she doesn't do it as much because, you know, the baby. But when she has them on, man, she does not hear anything you say. She is just in her own world. Look at the cleanup features. We never realize until we go clean them, but some of the machines are just tough to clean and not worth the value add of. Yeah. But that's the thing is the croquette is actually a pretty simple mechanism. Like, it doesn't even have like the whole thing to turn. You just flip the whole unit over. I need to look up here more because with the way that the thing is, if I'm over here, it looks weird when I'm looking down in here. There's also, I should, how to actually, hold on, can I? No, that would be a bad idea. So I have it set up with my teleprompter, but there's nothing sitting there right now. So I can see the little hole. There's like a little hole in it, and I can see that. And so I focus on the little hole, which I don't like. What if I focused on the camera itself? I would need something black to put up there to cover it, though. And you know what else we need to do now that we've changed this? Is we need to get a bookcase. Right there, look. It'll be perfect. It'll be perfect. It'll fit. Before I was like, oh, I'm not sure. It'll be like right behind my head. But now, it'll make perfect sense. Okay, the treasuries came back up there to the highs. I'm not so sure. So the thing is that I don't really know what is causing the bid here. I'm a little skeptical about its longevity. It does seem it has flows with characteristics that would tend to run. Girls want to think that you put some thought into what you buy for her. We are usually practical, or most of us are, and forget to ask for something girly that is not practical. Well, the problem with my wife and kids is that they don't want things. At least they don't express it. Or actually, I think it's worse than that. Like, because they buy a lot of junk. Like, something comes in Amazon almost every day. there's some drawers that are just full of random doohickeys that nobody ever touches, right? I'm way more simplistic, you know. I don't want to buy something unless I'm going to use it like every day. Like I bought this. I got to tell you what, buying some sound. So it started out as just let's buy a better bass for our home gym. And then I ended up buying not what I went to the store to buy, but it was around the same price or whatever. So I got that. And then when I came back home, I found it online for cheaper. So I bought it online and returned that one. And then when I returned that one, I was like, well, I don't think I want to move that speaker between the garage and the house. So I should still have something inside the house to listen to music on. So I went and I bought a soundbar for the television. So I bought like a Bose soundbar for the which is great, by the way. And basically, like, having the music around is like dramatically improved my quality of life, I think. Like, I didn't realize how much I was relying on it, but you know, with ADHD, it's dopamine release is a critical part, you know, and sometimes your brain will just get into this mode where it needs the dopamine and is just trying to find it any way that it can. And listening to my electronic music podcasts is one of the ways that you can get that. And you know, because I'm not driving in the car every day, I wasn't listening as much. I haven't been as up on what the hot tracks are right now because of that. So getting a stereo on the TV that I can sit on the couch and listen to, big difference. Big difference. But I digress. The wife, she doesn't sit down and be like, oh, I have a list. Like, I have a list. I have a list on my phone of things that I want to get. And I'm really selective about it because to me, I realize that it's like the pursuit of the things on the list. The pursuit of the things on the list is what's fun, right? So I actually don't want to see all that stuff on there. I have this, like, I also have a thing of just all the chores, but so I have a list, but they don't think of it that way. Now the oldest boy, that's easy because Nintendo had put out so much. Did you guys watch the last Nintendo Direct? It was freaking ridiculous, right? It was like, here we got the Metroid game is coming. Metroid game looks good, by the way. And we've got all this other stuff coming in October. And then they're coming out with a new subscription. Like, they have the Nintendo subscription, whatever, which I have, and you can play the classic Nintendo games. But now they're making an expansion pack so you can play Nintendo 64 and Sega Genesis games, which was like complete Echo. I never beat Echo the Dolphin. I really want to beat Echo the Dolphin. When that comes out, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do whole way through Echo the Dolphin. Maybe we'll stream it on. No, I don't think I would stream it on TikTok. I don't think that would be interesting because I wouldn't be good enough at it. And then they were like, oh yeah, and we're making a Mario movie and it stars Chris Pratt and every other major celebrity right now. That one's going to be really weird. Is Chris Pratt gonna do a high pitched voice like the Mario in the games does? It's a me. Oh, it's going to be so weird. It was like Twilight Zone. Pandora does this for much less. You're not talking about your Pandora must be the different from the Pandora I know, because that's the streaming radio that nobody uses anymore. Pandora. Spotify beat him out. I should get on Spotify. You know what? I don't know. I have mixed feelings about this. Like I had all of these thoughts and feelings about it, and then I didn't do anything. But I was like, Seth, if Pandora had been, if Spotify had been out when you were putting a lot of effort into your music, then you probably would have done a lot better. So maybe you should go and start putting stuff on Spotify. But then it was like, yeah, but that would be work. So I didn't do anything. Okay, so by the way, Jay took he got out of his long. He got out of his long, but it's been too churny for him. I don't know. I'm going to need to work on Jay a lot, but I'm not sure where I'm going to find the edges that I need from him. Like, I found a significant thing in Jay because basically he finds turns really well. He's maybe a little bit early to them, but he can find some turns really, really well. It's almost uncanny. But that kind of mean reversion trade does really, really poorly in trending action, right? Well, it apparently also does really, really poorly when the markets are just not moving. So now on that one, we might be able to just come in and use Alice and say, don't take a trade unless Alice is a certain level, which would probably be a good idea. But like determining it as a trend day and everything, that's been really hard. That's really hard to determine or predict using market data. That's probably the hardest thing. If you could find a way to predict whether we were going to be trending or mean reverting, not whether we are, but whether we're going to be trending or, you could predict trending or mean reverting behavior using only market data, that would be something else. I can kind of tell if we're going to be trending or not based on the fundamental news that's moving us, but not using only market data. And I think that that's what I would need. But now the split side of that is that we can add a couple of things into J to give us a little bit of control, right? So that I can tell him, nah, I only want longs or shorts or whatever the deal is, or we're in a trend and that sort of a thing. Maybe I should look into that. And add it to the list. I have a big long list of things we need to do. I'm actually thinking maybe we should try looking at something right now.
Winston's mom says traders, please take a quick second to hit the like button. You all know why I ask. Thanks, and if you are new to the channel, welcome.
Oh, you know what? I never showed you guys this. Oh, I should show you guys this. This is so cool, actually. And it's in the downloads channel. So if you go into the downloads channel, if you have NinjaTrader, you might really enjoy this. So if I come in, so here's a daily chart of the S&P 500, right? Okay, and now I have an indicator. It is under the Sept free namespace. Yield curve. You have to specify the expiry, so we're doing 12/21. Okay. This was the one that we were working on last holiday. I got it working. Ah, okay. That's Harker is talking right now. So here you can see the current yield curve. So you can kind of see there's this little convexity here with the 30-year. Because what's happening is they're all rising, but the 30-year is rising faster than the rest. At some point, they're going to flip around to flattening, And then the 2 and 10 will be the place to be. Like the 10 will come up quite a bit, right? So, but you can kind of see it. But the thing that's cool is I can come in here and I can click. That one's too close. There you go. So do you see the little blue line? I mean, like it's super close, right? Let me click it again. You can zoom in a little bit and kind of see the differences a little bit better. Right? So when I click on a bar over here, it will show me the yield, and you can compare them. It's not bad. Not bad. I think, though, I need to, I don't know. We need to do something for the scale of it because the changes are too subtle. I wonder, there's this one over here. Where is it? The yield curve. Dynamic yield curve at stockcharts.com. I don't know. We could build in this feature that shows all of the past ones with a slightly different color. That might be an advanced version that I put in, that I make as part of the subscription. Well, after Fed bond purchases aren't helping the economy much right now, and the treasuries came down to their lows. So that put a stop to the up action pretty quickly, didn't it? But we could do that. Now I have on my list here. Oh, that's Mandarin. That's learn Mandarin. I need to spend more time learning how to speak Chinese. But you know what? I probably need to step it up. Like I probably need to go and like get lessons or find a local community that speaks Mandarin. The marquee. I was going to work on the marquee last night, but oh man. So this is the other thing is the girls wanted a hedgehog. The girls wanted a hedgehog. So we got a hedgehog. And I was like, don't you want to get like a baby hedgehog instead of this one that you say is pretty old? They're like, no, it's fine. Well, the old one died. We hadn't even had him like 6 months. So yesterday they went to go and get a baby hedgehog. And oh my gosh, like they left like right after school at like 4 o'clock. They didn't come back to like 7:30. Oh, so we couldn't do anything. couldn't do anything. I was going to work on it. I'm getting close on the marquee. I had to go through and do a little bit of research because I got this thing right here. Here, I'll show you. Teeny, tiny. Is that a little Arduino? You see that? Little tiny Arduino. But this one has Wi-Fi. The first one that I got does not have Wi-Fi. But the difference is that these ones, the input outputs are only 3.3 volts. So it took me a long time to figure out what all of the details are. But I guess the deal is that the input that you put into the board is 5 volts. But then what comes out is 3.3 volts. And that can be a problem for some of these lights because they have to have 3.3 volts to turn the light on and off. So if they don't, if the wire is too long or something and you know there's a voltage drop, then they don't work properly. But I don't think there's anything I can do. I'm just going to have to try it and see what happens, right? Someone stopped me from trading I'm Addicted. Well, those were sim orders anyways, right? I am addicted to opening my platform. You're fine to do it as long as, do it sim for now if you're unsure about your trading. Otherwise, you're just going to have to close the account. Okay, well, you're doing sim trading. That's good. Just, but are you, you got to set like hard limits, right? Like we only trade the first 3 hours of the open. After that, it's London is closed. No trading, right? Then we focus on the other things that we got to do. Most important thing that you can do, Celine, is get a strong schedule, because your health with trading is so monumentally important to really be able to perform at the level that you need to do what we do. I mean, you've got to be sharp. And that means that you got to have a good schedule. You got to be getting good sleep. You got to be eating well. You got to be exercising, and you've got to be giving yourself enough time to do everything else that you need to do in your life. A lot of people, when they start trading, they will go like way overboard and let trading completely consume their life, and that can lead to big mistakes and underperformance. I'm thinking about it all the time. Yeah, probably because it creates, chemicals in your brain that you might be slightly deficient in, right? Like if you're a little bit autistic, then you're not going to have as much of all of the neurochemicals in your brain that you need. You're not going to have the norepinephrine, serotonin, or dopamine. I think though that with autism, it's the serotonin in particular is. Could be wrong about that though. Anyways, so trading often will like become obsessive because it triggers those chemicals so well, right? So you've got to find ways to bring those about other ways, right? One of the first ones is, like I was saying, music can really help. But another thing that really helps is family and friends, which I know is a hard one, right? Because you're still in school and stuff, and so probably you don't have as many people close around you, but you're gonna have to spend time trying to develop that stuff every week, right? Hey AO, how are you doing? We're doing okay. My robot's been doing a bunch of stuff, but I've kind of been sitting here. The trade in the treasury looks a little iffy this morning. We were getting some really solid looking uptrend, but then Fed Sarkar came in and said something and it smashed it back down. So now I'm not sure. I hate people. I know. But probably part of the reason, the thing is that you probably don't get the same kind of chemical release when you interact with people that normal people do, right? A normal person like me, I go out and I'm interacting with people like we have a party or something like that, then you get a high from it. So it get the oxytocin that makes you feel close to people, and you can get some dopamine from it. Whereas for you, you probably don't get that, right? But I think the way that you can approach it is if you turn it more into a puzzle, right? So people definitely have certain ways of behaving, and there are rules. They aren't readily apparent to you. But if you read books and you practice and so forth, you'll start to figure them out, how human social hierarchies work, and then it's a challenge to you, right? So the big one that I think helped me the most is you got to realize the person with the most value is the person that makes everybody around them better, right? Everybody thinks that it's a competition and I need to outcompete and outdo everybody. But that doesn't actually get you to the top, right? In fact that actually, if you get to the top and you're really successful doing it that way, people just resent you. Right? Some of the most hated people right now are these really successful millionaires, right? So you want to work on, okay, for each individual person that I come across, what is it that I can do through my interactions with them that is going to make them better and more successful? Because the more value you can add to other people, the more value you yourself is going to have, right? And you can kind of look at everybody, because it's kind of at a different level, right? A lot of people are kind of at this basic level where they just want somebody to pay attention to them, right? Which is really hard. You probably have this feeling like, I really just wish that could have somebody care and to share and be close with, but then every time that you try doing it, you have trouble doing it, right? My girlfriend is definitely a huge unsolvable puzzle. So there you go. That's like probably a really great example, is like you might have a significant other, but you don't actually feel that, that closeness that you're craving, right? And a lot of it is because we just logically we're way more logical about it, and we just don't understand the logic behind how you feel that way, right? But you've got to go back to the point of like, what is their need? So if their need is that they just want somebody to care about them, then that's all you got to do is just give them some attention and they love you, right? That's like people at the lowest level of the hierarchy. But what often happens is a lot of people will get tired of doing that, right? They want people to pay attention to them, and so they'll shower other people with attention, thinking that will mean that they'll care about them, and it doesn't work. So they turn to like subversive strategies, right? Where you go and you tear other people down. I have a tendency to try and tear other people down because it's just so much easier to see what other people are doing wrong and call those things out as wrong. But and there's a place for that. But a larger picture is that the kind of the backbiter just kind of becomes annoying, right? So then people kind of figure that one out and move on to the next level, which is like just being competitive, right? So then people are really, you get these, and that's where a lot of people are, right? That's where a lot of normal people are at this level, where they're just always trying to outcompete at each other. You got to buy the nicest thing to outcompete them, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But that's exhausting. Like, I tell you what, you play that game, your whole life, you're just going to be a tired old person, and you're going to feel like you haven't accomplished anything. And why is that? Because the secret is the person with the most value is the person that brings value to others, right? So if instead of thinking about it as I need to outcompete everybody, you turn at how do I help everybody become better? So here for this stream, I could be trying to outtrade the rest of you. But no, what it actually is I, because of my position as the head of the stream, and I have the ability to come in and I'm here the whole time and I get to control where the discussion is going, then I have the ability to, get information from this person and get information from this person and disseminate it out to everybody in a way that everybody can understand and really make use of it, right? So now I can help all of you guys get to a certain level where I can't guarantee that you're going to be a successful trader, but you at least stand a chance because you actually understand how the market actually works, right? And so that makes everybody that visits this stream more valuable. They do better at trading because they watch this stream. And that in turn makes me and the stream more valuable, right? So when it comes to, for instance, a girlfriend, you've got to think like, okay, what is the thing that is going to bring the most value to them? Right. So like with my wife right now, this is going to seem really silly and dumb, but that's my current strategy is that her foot is really bothering her. When she works, that foot it is just hurts a lot at the end, enough that she almost doesn't want to work out usually. And we really need to get her back on a more healthy lifestyle schedule, right? So just making sure that the ice pack is cold and that she remembers to use it is the thing that brings the most value to her right now, right? When you start thinking, and that's a logical puzzle, isn't it? Right? So you try that, and I think you probably have a lot of success with that. And it's good if you have a girlfriend. That's good. That means that like you need to be thinking about during your daily schedule, how do they fit into the schedule? Because it really changes things. So when you think about it from that perspective, right? Okay. Having a good relationship with my girlfriend can help my trading. It's true. It really does work that way because trading is so much about having a healthy mind and a healthy emotional state. I really don't think the kind of emotional state that I was in, especially after my divorce, but even I think that there was some latent emotional problems that I wasn't aware of in terms of like fear of abandonment and so on and so forth, that I think would have had a very detrimental effect on trading. So I really don't think that I would have been able to do what I do now if I hadn't have gone through that divorce and resolved those issues and then, met my current wife and developed a really secure relationship. I think I have some periods where I just get really mad at her or we have a little bit of a fight, but because we have a secure relationship, it's very, very easy to move past those sorts of things. It was like, okay, we both understand what each one of us are upset about right now. And then we go out and we just go and make it happen. We don't have to talk about it or worry about that. Like, oh, they're so mad that like the relationship's going to end or something like that. We didn't even have to talk about it because we know. That's where you want to get to, right? And then you don't have those things just distracting you when you need to trade. Why is so Financial Juice is just saying over the thing here that they've got the link for the ECB forum, but that doesn't happen for another 2 hours, right? 9:45. Anyways, the place that I learned that stuff about social hierarchies and stuff was a book called The Tao of Badass. I think it's like a $70 ebook that you can get. Okay, so after Harker coming in and kind of putting the kibosh on things, I see the Treasury is moving up to the highs again. But at the moment, this flow appears to be largely coming from risk-off sentiment. So I can see the ES getting creamed here. I can see that Jay tried taking a long that was probably ill-advised and ended up in loss. By the way, did I tell you what happened yesterday? Thanks for the pieces of advice. Well, you to me have kind of become a challenge. Like at first, it was just like, okay, well, he's causing a problem to the stream, and we just need to, he'll go away. But you persisted. But then you came back and you started being nice, and then I turned back to it and I said, you know what? What really happened was the first time around I failed him. Like I didn't really understand him well enough to know like what are the things that he needs to become a successful trader and so forth, right? So this time around, I'm thinking about it a lot harder. thinking about it a lot harder, because what is it that I can do that will help him out. So the same thing with it's kind of a different question with Ace. It's like what helps Ace the most as a trader? Because on one hand, he's kind of having some success, or he's had some degree of success in the past, right? So it's like it doesn't really need anything, but that's never true. There's always something that you can do to help people. I think one of them is just having a really good friends that trade, because man, it's really hard to find people that really truly understand trading, even these days, because there's a lot of people interested in the markets, but most of these people don't really understand trading the way that we do, right? Like their whole world is like, how valuable is this compared to what it should be worth, and the higher it goes, the less people are going to buy it, or that kind of a dynamic, and looking at some pattern in price, when the reality is that orders move price, and if we can predict the orders that come in, right, it has a completely different mindset, right? So most people don't understand that. And having people to talk about it with, I hope at least that's where I bring in value add. I probably don't praise him as much as I should, but I don't know. One piece of advice has always been comfortable being on your own. Well, it's kind of, did you know? So they did a study on this, AO. I saw this because this was a problem that I had to deal with. Because for me, I think it was kind of something created largely by the ADHD and just a couple of experiences that I had. But for me, the fear of whatever the relationship is ending is really hot, is really dramatic for me, right? Like I get really nervous. I was the other day, because we hadn't seen John in a while, right? He's still around. He messaged me the other day, but I was starting to wonder. I was like, he didn't like die of COVID or something, did he? Like I start to get anxious about it. That's me, right? And that's where, when I got divorced, that it was like the nightmare scenario. I just completely fell apart, right? And then at that point, you start to think, well, maybe it's better that I just become avoidant, right? So then your thought is, I'm just always going to be independent, and I don't want to ever get too close to anybody or rely on somebody too much, because then I won't be independent, and then I'm putting myself at risk of having those bad things happen again, and I'm putting myself at risk of not being as effective on my own because of that, right? That's that's the path that many people take. But they went and they did a study about who are the people that are the most successful, like they're most willing and able to take risks. They're really independent and able to do things on their own. And they find that the people that are most capable of doing those things are the ones that have really strong and secure relationships. So it's really a counterintuitive result, but it's basically having the secure relationship actually makes you more capable of doing things on your own. So it would be, I would then say, like, maybe we can apply that to this room, right? That having a really secure relationship with this room and enjoying the guys that are here and discussing with me hopefully translates to you being more confident about the trades that you're making on your own, right? I like the back testing part you do on Ninja to call out their bullshit. Yeah. Well, I've been trying to be. I always try to be a little subtle about it, because the thing that I've found is if you just come out and you say, okay, here's you think this, but that's BS because this reason, doesn't convince very many people. It just doesn't convince very many people for some reason. So I've kind of tried to turn it around. I've tried to turn it into, okay, hey, I'm going to show you a back test that's going to be really valuable to you. So you think he's going to come in and he's going to show me what the best moving average is to use. But then you actually see the actual data and you go, oh, moving average isn't that useful of a tool. Because it's not very predictive. It just helps me catch the beginning of a trend, right? Now you know the information, and hopefully that gets... Of course, there's the other way of just being flamboyant. I think we should do that too. We should make the technical analysis is horoscopes for men. Or astrology for men. Yeah, I think we should do that. And see if that attracts any attention too. I don't know. I'm willing. One of the great things with TikTok is that you can try everything and see how they play. Excuse me. Oh, I missed this comment by Lewis. Everyone always hated the bookworm in school and then called the nerd. They then became the doctors and lawyers later in life. I don't know why. I guess I'm just on the like philosophical pontificating kind of trip today. But you know what's something that really bothers me that I see out there is there's a really significant group of people that don't seem to understand the experience and value of really having to study something to understand it. Like for these people, it's like, oh, I just need to watch a 20-minute YouTube video and then I know everything about it. And I don't think that they understand the sort of experience of like that. I mean, I think I got a taste of it in computer science because I had to work really hard when I got my computer science degree. But probably the people that understand this the best are going to be doctors and lawyers, right? Because that is like 4 years of crazy, hard, dedicated study about a subject, right? Law or the human body, right? Man, the amount of training and everything that doctors have to go through, it's insane. It's really quite insane how much study they have to go through. And there's just this huge wealth of people that seem like they don't think that any of that is valuable. Like they think that it's all a scam or something. But then more to the point, this finance is a domain like that. You can come in and you can spend your whole life with dedicated hard study on financial topics and dedicate your whole life to it. And there's all these people that expect to just go and read one book and then be successful in it. Can you tell us shortly about the strategy that G use in the ES, if that's possible? What do you mean by G? So if you're talking about me, I almost always come in with a particular bias based on the news and sentiment. And everything that I'm looking in the order flow is to confirm to me that I'm seeing the flow that I expect. And trying to find a place where my unfavorable excursion is going to be minimized. Why is it that machine learning is a black box? Meaning, why can't we know the underlying rules once a machine has made its own decision? Well, so with a lot of machine learning algorithms, how do I put this? So like a true black box is like you pass all of these parameters into it, and then you will always get the same result out, right? So nothing in trading can actually be a true black box. Okay, what's the 30-year doing here? That's interesting. On the open, you see here the 10-year yield is getting pushed down I'm not really seeing it so hard in the 30-year treasury. Sorry, did I say 10-year? 30 years. 30-year treasury is doing it a little bit, but there was some pretty decent volume there on the open. There's still some interest in equities. Doesn't look like nearly as much selling as yesterday. You mean Jay. So the main gist of the way that J works is J waits for the order flow to become really one-sided and fades that. That's basically what he's doing. So he's coming in and he's saying almost everybody is buying, and then he fades it within a certain tolerance. There's some things built into it to try and prevent him from trying to fade trend days over and over. But when it's like a real true to goodness trend day like we had yesterday, where it was a trend day down, you probably best to just turn him off. He did really good at the beginning though. More to the point, something that I have found, and I think is worth sharing with you guys. Like this was kind of something that I was just kind of keeping to myself, but I think I need to share. Is that when we look at the way that we as people read the order flow, I'm coming in here and I'm looking at it and saying, okay, well, there's been a lot of buy orders recently, especially compared to what there was, or, like this today, I'm looking at the volume and I'm saying, okay, so it's still mixed, but it's not nearly as hard of a sell as it was yesterday. Right? So when I go and I try and do that in a back test and I do it on like an individual bar, it doesn't work because it's like the data that you get just looks random. And you try trading off of it, it just gets random, right? Because that's not the way that we look at it. We don't have it quantized so much. So what you do instead is you use a rolling window. So like say I want to look at 5 minutes worth of data. Instead of doing a chart with 5-minute bars, I do a chart with 5-second bars and a 300 period. So the thing that I'm looking at is still a 5-minute, but it's not like this 5-minute and this 5-minute and this 5-minute. It's here's 5 minutes, right? As it rolls along. And then I can go and I can do all of the statistical analysis about the orders within that 5-minute period, right? So there's a thread about this on Futures.io where Hyper Scalper, who's a guy I've spoken with quite a bit actually, was showing people how to do something like this. And I think that some people didn't quite understand, like, well, what's the point? It's just like cumulative delta. It's because it's a rolling period. Once you get that rolling period, all of a sudden you can start to do like a statistical analysis to say like there's a statistical aberration in the number of large orders in this location or whatever it is that you're looking for. Ninja Trader sorted out my data feed for CQG Mobile. Okay, so did you have to pay extra to be able to use CQG Mobile, or was it just that they had to enable it? So I'm assuming that you just have to enable it, but I haven't bothered to ask them. Gus asks kind of like the Vista chart. Yeah, kind of like the Vista chart. Sort of, if you look at J, you can see this market order imbalance does kind of look like the Vista chart. Which I have over here. Yeah. Just messed up my, okay, there we go. Fixed it. It's like I just messed up my Vista chart. $0.25. So is that to mean there's an added commission if you actually trade through CQG Mobile? Man, Jay caught it pretty unlucky today, I think, because he took a short that was actually a really good, but it wouldn't stopped him out first before it went. That's unfortunate. Okay. As long as there's not a monthly data fee, I'm okay with that. Because I don't think that I ever really want to use it to execute a trade. I think that I'm almost always going to have stops and then just going to go and hit my stops anyways. But I just want to be able to not have to come back to the computer to see the data. To see the live market data. It's the same thing, I could use TradingView to look at it, but that's probably an extra fee too. Okay, well, just note that last wave of selling did appear to break out in terms of cumulative delta, but it also caused a wave of buying in the treasury. Pushed the 10-year almost all the way back to 1.5. JP Morgan's Aeroad says Evergrande is not the largest thing happening in China. That's a little ominous. Not a time to air travel. United Airlines set to terminate 593 workers for refusing the COVID-19 vaccine. Yeah. It's kind of weird. Anyways, I got distracted there. NASDAQ trader was asking about a black box. So the issue that you're going to run into is that what can happen is a true black box would be you have all of these inputs, you pass all of these inputs in, and you're going to get a consistent result out at the same time. Every time you're going to get the same result out, right? Does that accurately model a market? Does not. So all of these guys, they talk about black box trading and everything like that. That to me just does not match up with the way that I think of things in a computer science term. Because number one, there's a random element to it. So that's going to be the first thing that screws up your black box. But then the second thing is that there's a state. So there are variables that you could potentially pass in, but what actually happens is the box itself has some sort of a state that, based on the information that you've passed into it from before, it remembers that, and it's storing it inside the box. If you were able to take that variable and take it out of the box and change it into an input, then maybe you could change it into something that you get the same result out every time, right? But you can't do that because there's no way to look inside the box and there's no way to see the variable. You don't even know what variables there are. There could be 2, there could be 100, right? And so that's where I think that kind of the black box approach will fail on you sometimes. In other words, trying to treat the market like a black box and then testing to find out what works in terms of trades tends not to be very effective because the box itself is so complicated. So a better way of doing things is to try and model what is going on inside the box, essentially, which is what we do with order flow, right? Once we've gone through all of that modeling and we've found a model that works and seems to match the market behavior, then we get all sorts of insights that you don't get any other way, right? Like, for instance, orders move the market, and the effects that those orders have are long lasting. If I come in and there's a meta order that's long, people think, okay, that's going to move price up temporarily, but then it's going to revert back to where it's supposed to be. But that's not actually what happens. The market has a memory. It sees that you push the market up and it stays there. And it continues to, and there's a slight autocorrelation effect that lasts for a long time. NASDAQ trader says the box doesn't give you feedback. Well, It does give you feedback in terms of price, but again, price isn't really the thing that you're looking at, right? So then it gives you feedback in terms of you can see what orders came through, right? But that's actually just the input. That's just telling you what the last set of inputs were, right? You know what the last set of inputs are, but so it's like you've got this box right here, right? You pass a set of orders into it, and then it comes out with a price, right? Okay, now this thing right here, this is consistent. If you put in a certain number of orders and the current price, you put the last price in and all these orders, you will get the same result out every time, because this algorithm is basically the matching algorithm on the exchange, right? But if we're talking about the market as a whole, right? If I go in and I put an order into it, if I go and I take last price, so here's this price, and the history of last price, and try and put something into it, what you're going to get out is just going to seem seemingly random to you, right? So what you got to do, you got to start looking at the box and you say, okay, there's a guy over here that is a equity parity fund, and because he is losing money from his positions in bonds, he is going to have to sell some of his stocks to come in and buy more bonds, so that the percentage of his portfolio that is bonds stays within the allowable limit that they have defined in their strategy, right? And you can go and you can do that for all of these people. Now, all of a sudden, you're modeling it, and you're saying, okay, here's a flow that's going to come in, and why does that affect the market in the long term the way that it does, right? But at that point, we're not treating it like a black box. That's what I meant by that. I want to know what's happening inside the box. $593 people who are not critical thinkers that do not want working. That's probably an oversimplification. Maybe they've already had it, for instance. Maybe they feel that they are at a particular risk for myocarditis, for instance, right? I don't know. Trying to. I really don't think it's a good idea to try and punish people because they didn't want to get the vaccine. Especially since we know that having a high vaccination rate does not prevent new waves. Having a high, like the whole thing. This is the one that drives me crazy. He's short. You're still short. Good job, Ace. The thing that drives me crazy is that Israel had an extremely high vaccination rate, and they still had a very, very bad Delta wave. So that means that all of this drama over whether or not people get the vaccine doesn't actually impact the results of the waves, as it's not a final solution like people think it is. Like, people have this idea in their head, if we get to 90% vaccinated, then it's over. That's not the case. We know that that's not the case because we've already seen that happen in areas where they had a very high vaccination rate and it wasn't over. I'll hold off for the medical doubt. That is from medical expert data, right? There's a number of studies from Israel where we can talk about that. One, because we know what the vaccination rate in Israel was, and we can see what happened in the Delta wave. But then two, because the Israelis have done studies based off of how well the vaccinated people versus the people that had natural immunity did, and they found that the people with natural immunity did better. I don't just make these things up. Now, if you have other pieces of information that are conflicting on that, then I would love to hear it. But oh, you haven't even talked about Congress. Bipartisanship isn't a light switch that Democrats can switch on when they need to borrow money and flip off when they want to spend money. What? Oh, that's freaking hilarious. Here's the thing. Well, why there's like a you could say there's like a consensus of experts, but you realize that what comes out of the CDC is not really that consensus of experts that you talk about, right? For instance, the CDC pretty much straight up said that they don't think that it's a good idea to do a wide scale booster program. Right? The advisory board recommended against it, and then they went and they did it anyways, basically. Well, it wasn't as broad as they really wanted it to be. They only made it as a recommendation for people that are like have risk factors and stuff, but they still basically went against the board recommendation. Right? So why would you just blindly trust that? It's not logical. Seems to me that what you know that just like everything else in this life, that if you really want to make an informed decision, that you need to go and do all of the research and come to the best logical conclusion that you can. And what is it? And this isn't even something that's contradicting what the CDC says. What do we know? Israel had almost like a 90% vaccination rate, and they still got a large Delta wave. That's a fact. I don't think you even have to look it up. I mean, I don't think that anybody doubts what I'm saying there, right? So what can you take from that? Lewis already said the board stated the vaccine is good. Well, I think that they were saying that especially for kids, that more if you went in, I don't think that the board actually said that, but I did see that when you actually started to go into the statistics, that particularly for teenagers, that the risk of myocarditis was higher than the number of kids that had actually died from COVID. Yeah. This sounds like all an elaborate excuse to not do your own research. Like, this is the thing that I don't get, is like, okay, you don't want to do your own research, but then you're willing to trust an expert that you know has lied to you. Like that you straight up know has lied to you in the past. It's not a conspiracy theory. They straight up lied about things. Like Fauci admitted that he said things that he knew weren't true because to affect the public opinion. Like he admitted that in an interview. And I know you know about that because I remember talking about it here on the stream when he did it. Oh, I wasn't wrong on UFOs. I did kind of say I don't think that the release of the report is going to be like they're going to reveal aliens, right? But there was some interesting information in there. I think that's still probably it's going to go on for a couple of years. We don't hear anything, and then maybe we get some better theories on what was happening with that Nimitz incident, right? So that's really weird, that whole thing. Something's going on there, right? 27.5 has a 9600 offer on it with 14700 MBO. Well, so if you take that one big order off, it doesn't really stand out as too big, does it? I'm noticing there's a decently large amount of orders at 24.5 and 25, and they are changing a decent amount, especially the 24.5. So Sept is an alien. The thing is that you're like you're making assertions that people are wrong, but you're not providing specific evidence about things. Particularly, so you're trying to change the subject now. Actually, right? The subject was that the vaccine is not a final solution to the coronavirus epidemic because areas with very high vaccination rates still had Delta waves. That's the assertion. I have yet to see any evidence provided here that contradicts that thesis. He has ridiculous good looks. I don't know. Maybe my mom is an alien from Canada. That's what you mean. Okay, by the way, the E-mini turned pretty heavy risk on there. The treasuries didn't come back. I think that normally I would want to try and go long here at like 502 in the 10-year. I'm really tempted to just hit into those three orders right there. But I'm hearing like Schumer and these guys talking. So I don't know if that's a pardon me. So that's not an argument. Okay. So what you're doing is you're making an appeal to authority fallacy. Whether or not I am an expert on the particular subject at hand has no bearing on whether or not the thing that I said was true. If the thing that I said was false, then you should be able to provide evidence that falsifies that conclusion. And whether or not I'm an expert on it has absolutely no bearing on it, on whether or not the fact is right or not. People who don't know a whole lot can come up with correct conclusions, and people who know a whole lot can come up with false conclusions. And we see that all the time. So and that's why appeal to authority is considered a logical fallacy. Now, you might be able to say, well, don't know enough about it to be able to so basically you can say, well, I can't prove you wrong. Sure, but that doesn't mean that I am wrong. Okay, so what was it that Schumer said here? Democrats are attempting to keep the United States from defaulting on its debt. No, that's not going to happen. Okay, so let's talk about this now. This is a good time to talk about this, okay? The U.S. is not going to default. Okay. This boogeyman that the United States is going to default on its debt is a fear story being pushed with the Democrats that has zero chance of happening. And I'll tell you why it has zero chance of happening. Democrats can raise the debt ceiling all by themselves without requiring a single Republican vote. How can they do that? So if you do a reconciliation bill is not subject to the same filibuster rules as a regular bill is. Okay. So If the Democrats include in a reconciliation bill a provision to raise the debt limit, they can bring that bill to the Senate. It bypasses the filibuster, and then it passes 51-50, with Kamala Harris being the tie-breaking vote. And thus, the debt limit is raised without requiring a single Republican vote. Okay, so what's the problem? Why don't they do that? Well, here's why the Democrats are doing this. Number one is because they have a $3.5 trillion budget that they really, really, really want to pass. And so they're hoping that by dangling the debt limit as kind of a hostage, that some moderate will cross the aisle and say, okay, I will vote for it because I just don't want the United States to default on its debt. But that one is already off the table because the Republicans have already said, hey, we're not doing that. Hey, look, that trade would have been good if I had taken it at 502. Okay. So we know that a Republican isn't going to break. Okay. But there's a second problem. And the second problem is that in order for it to be a reconciliation bill, it has to be a budget. Basically, it has to be everything that has to do with the reconciliation has to be about the budget. And so in order to include the debt limit in a reconciliation bill, they would have to put a dollar amount on the debt ceiling. So normally the debt ceiling is just the United States can continue to borrow as much money as it needs until this date. They would have to go in and they would have to say the U.S. debt limit is $30 trillion, right? And it's like 30 or 40 trillion dollars. Okay. So you have any idea how bad it looks when they say, oh, the Democrats just said that now we're allowed to borrow up to $30 trillion. This is ridiculous, right? Like that's a really ugly political message to be out there sending that the Democrats don't want to have to send. And so that is why they're not just putting out a reconciliation bill and passing it. But when push comes to shove, the Democrats are going to be forced, and that's probably what's going to happen is they're just going to put up a clean reconciliation bill that has the dollar amount on it, and they're going to pass it without any Republican votes. That's probably what's going to happen. So the defaulting is probably not going to happen. And if I see a move in the markets that appears to be based largely off of the theory that the U.S. is going to default, I want to fade it. Okay, so Brett Turley says, your idea is probably correct. The goal was reduction of total death. I believe that a Delta wave occurred in highly vaccinated populations, but with less death as a COVID endpoint. Okay, I think that's true as well. That statistically speaking, we could say that less people died because of a high vaccination rate than would have otherwise if people were not vaccinated. So both of those two things aren't mutually exclusive. You can still have a pretty high Delta wave, but still have reduced death with the vaccine. That's true. But what I'm kind of saying is, okay, so if the vaccine doesn't completely stop the pandemic, then all of this hate that people are pushing towards people that are not vaccinated, that this is all your fault and all of these people are dying because of you guys, is not justified. And then, frankly, to the point, a government mandate, essentially, that you have to be vaccinated is not justified. Like legally, it's not justifiable. What are the odds in Vegas for the government going into default? Oh, that's a good question. Let's go look. Okay, so here comes the news for the top of the hour. Let's pay attention to that. This is going to be the pending home sales number. We're looking for a reading of 1.4%. Did I just hear that right? I don't want to say the number that I just heard because that's way different from what the expectation was here. 8 spot. It is. Okay. 8.1 versus a forecast of 1.4, 1.1. Okay. So there's a lot more pending home sales out there than we expected. The E-mini seems to be moving up off of that. The treasuries aren't so sure. I'm still a little worried about taking a trade. Okay. Gus needs a new activation. Take care of that after this stream. I'm thinking that I might. Oh, let's just watch for a second. Okay. Well, this one might be worth taking. So on predicted, the odds of a default are 40% essentially. Will a debt limit raise be enacted by October 15th? Before it was only 36. Man, if I had known yesterday that it was at 36, I would have bought that one. That's an easy call. 2-to-1 payout, and it's almost impossible for it to happen. Eventually, they're going to have to go through reconciliation.
Odds in Vegas on government default, lol.
Maybe. I'm surprised that yesterday was below 50, because I'm just telling you now. I'm almost guaranteed there might be another way for them to get around it that I'm not aware of, but the chances are that the solution is going to be that they use reconciliation to raise the debt limit. That's what's going to happen. It's just Democrats are doing everything they can to avoid doing that. But that's probably what they're going to have to do in the end, which is, I guess, a win for Republicans, but whatever. I don't know. I feel like that number should cause yields to rise. It is kind of happening, but the flow is not quite right, so I don't think I get a trade. It might go, but I don't think I have a trade today. It could be the case. It could be the case that they just wait until the ECB forum in 90 minutes or so. Anyways, so you want to see another interesting thing on this one? I'll come in here and show you. There was a hot air story about it that was interesting. I might have to scroll down to find it though, because it's already come off of the page. Oh yeah, there was that one. That one's funny. Oh, here it is. It was at the top. So I just want to put a disclaimer on this, that this was written by Alapundit, who is very much stuck in Twitter world and speculates in a way, like way beyond what I would be willing to speculate on. Okay. So there's a lot of speculative statements in this article. Okay. But basically they're pointing out that how much people trust Joe Biden to provide accurate COVID-19 information, that basically since the end of August, the public trust in him has cratered. Like, it used to be like really, really high and kind of flattened out. And now all of a sudden, only 45% of people really trust him and 53% don't trust him at all. Okay. So then in here, they come down and they say, okay, so why did this happen? Some theories. The brutal wave of Delta in the southeast proved that we are not as close to done with COVID as we thought, leading pandemic-wary Americans to instinctively blame the guy in charge. At its most basic level, Biden's campaign was a pledge that America would no longer have to endure the waves of mass death that it saw last year and this past summer. Thanks to the new variant, that pledge has been broken. Theory 1. Theory 2, the fiasco in Afghanistan shattered hopes that Biden would be competent at governing thanks to his decades of experience in Washington, and now that disillusionment is bleeding over into other policy realms. One assessment of a political leader can never be fully compartmentalized by issue. If Biden looks like he doesn't know what he's doing on foreign policy, his constituents will wonder if he knows what he's doing on COVID too. Number 3, the public has grown disillusioned with the public health bureaucracy, and Biden, as head of that bureaucracy, is paying a price for it. The test problem, as the virus lingers, goes beyond Biden, with declines over time for Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and state governments. Axios notes, adding that trust in media's reporting on COVID has also dropped. Vaccinated Americans were told they could take their masks off in May, and then were told to put them on again at the end of July. Biden announced that everybody would be getting a booster at the beginning on September 20th, and then had to walk back that when the CDC and FDA said only vulnerable people would need one. Kids are back in school, but the rules on mask wearing, testing, and quarantining are haphazard and patchwork across localities. Okay, so this third one seems like probably the most likely explanation, especially since we can see that other places experienced similar declines in trust, right? But then there's another interesting theory, and here's this person who is Pusha is Ron DeSantis's spokesman. Okay, so this is the guy in Florida. Okay, but look at this chart that he has here. So here was when Joe Biden said that there's going to be a vaccine mandate. He hasn't implemented it yet, but they're saying that they want to do a mandate, right? And then they're saying, look, this is when it changed. So that's also a theory that basically people are losing faith in it because Joe Biden is pushing some degree of vaccine mandate. Maybe. For folks in here who trade, I'm not so sure that today is really just a very good day to trade, to be honest with you. Even in the ES, it was kind of, I don't know. Jay caught a good long. Jay caught a very good long. More than wipes out those losses that he had earlier. Does anyone use the NT heat map here? Is it of any good? So I think it's okay. I wouldn't spend $900 just for that. But if you have NinjaTrader, it's worth using if you don't have anything else. But it's not as good as the VistaChart or Bookmap for that. To that point, though, I don't think that the heat map, the VistaChart, Bookmap, any of those really show you everything that you need to be watching. That really the only thing that really truly shows you everything that will matter is the DOM. So take it for what it's worth. Anyways, then one last thing on the vaccine mandate thing. Biden, I think we can get back to normal when 97 to 98% of us are vaccinated. That's lunacy. You're never going to get to 97%. Why is he saying crazy? You know, you want people to trust you. Don't say stupid things like that. But Joe, good grief. The reality is that when you factor in the number of people that have already had it and have natural immunity, and the people that are vaccinated, we're probably at that herd immunity once this Delta wave dies down. But again, seems like this thing is virulent enough that that's not going to prevent future waves. Those waves might not be as big as this last wave. They'll probably be smaller and smaller and smaller, but I'm going to bet that we're dealing with waves for a long time. And it's just kind of a question of whether people decide to move on or whether the government continues to fearmonger over it. Well, so they gave us a little bit of a reprieve there that maybe I could have tried to go along again, but I still think that I missed my opportunity. That 502 really looked good. Like that really looked like they had overextended. At this point, I would be debating whether or not I just wanted to take it off at $10 or whether I wanted to let it run. Do you have a video on the DOM? So I have a few videos where I talk about the DOM, but I haven't made like a comprehensive one. I have a lot of stuff on TikTok though about reading order flow. So what I would do is I would go on and find on TikTok those order flow videos. And then at some point in the future here, we're going to, like a month from now, we're going to be making more detailed videos about the DOM. I don't know. Even so, this flow that I'm expecting to increase rates is going to be the housing starts was really good. Well, you would think 12 minutes after the news that would have come in by now, and it hasn't. So I still think that I don't have a trade. Yeah. So the one that Win talks about, that one is kind of more convincing you as to why you should use the DOM. But I don't get super hard into the specific things that we look at. So part of the reason why I didn't make that in the past was because I was like, well, I'm never going to do better than like the no BS day trading thing, right? And if I give too much stuff, then it's like I would have to sell a course, right? Well, I think I can go into the basic game, what you're looking at without like giving away certain edges that we can't necessarily discuss, but it would be enough to, again, for you to understand what's going on correctly. So we need to make some videos. And then if you really, really, truly want to understand what's going on, you want to go and read Trades, Quotes, and Prices, Markets Under the Microscope by Jean-Philippe Beauchamp. That's why we need to get this bookcase. And then I can just put the books over there and everybody will know, okay, like those are the books that you really want to read. Bookcase and then a marquee scroller in the back, and it'll be a very and then the chalkboard. I need to. Oh, I forgot about that. So let's just move this over here a second. Okay, got this sticky note with some tasks on it that I haven't done, but I need to add these two, right? One is the bookcase. The other one is a chalkboard. Drawing. Top 5 trading books, that's good stuff too. But anyways, that was the point of all of that. In lieu of me making a video, I think that the No BS trading course is a really, really great course. There's like the beginner's course, it's only like $80, $90 or something like that. I think is a really good value and teaches you a lot about how the DOM works. I wonder if maybe it's just that the treasuries are being a little cautious here because of what's going on in Congress. Kind of my issue with what's going on in Congress is that I'm not entirely wedded to the treasuries move up or down based on the worst things that are going in Congress. I guess it kind of puts me in limbo. It's like I don't want to make a trade off of it, but I think that other people might try making a trades off of it, and I don't know which way that they would go. So it behooves me that I just stay out. So sometimes the debt, like especially funding the government very often results, well, not very often. The past 2 times that I've been watching it, treasury prices went up because of the risk off sentiment that it causes. Okay. Like the risks off sentiment that it causes is stronger than the downward pressure that the reduced credit ratings and increased risk of default does. You can see that the treasuries are kind of moving up against my trades. So even if I had taken the 502, I'd be giving it all up now at this point if I'd stayed in, or I would have only been able to get $10 out of it, which isn't that great of a trade. I'm watching a video, a guy is trying to capture an alligator in a garbage can. Yep. When I say risk off, risk on, that's correct. It's basically like traders in the financial market reduce their exposure to risk and focus on protecting their capital. But it's basically like a whole trade. So how you think of it. There's a trade where everybody wants to take risk on, and so they go into risk assets, and then there's a trade where everybody wants to go risk off, and they go into risk off assets, which the primary one being treasuries. So the treasuries for a moment there were taking 23 bid. I wonder if they push higher here today. It could just be the case. Another thing that we might be factoring in here is that it could just be the case that everybody got long yields, essentially short treasuries, long yields, and they're kind of being forced to take profits as it comes back here. Yeah, wax on, wax off. There you go. I just saw this tweet from Dave Portnoy about Walmart that I don't understand. You must have some bet going on with people about something. Let's see here. Let's see some stuff going on around. Let's see. So, by the way, here on the E-mini, that one's been pretty choppy here, huh? I'm actually, even in this location, well, I guess we're in like a 6-point range, so Various to have gotten his points and stuff, but I don't know. I guess probably they move up, but, well, they're kind of moving right now. So I think the one trade that I could probably make is to buy yields here and hope for one spot 518 as the ES goes to risk on. But I think that the ECB press conference kind of makes that too iffy of a trade to be worth trying for me. An artist who was paid $84,000 by a museum and delivered 2 blank canvases. My gosh. This is from Forbes. Dollar rising. Silver. Oh, yeah. Okay. So silver and gold are dropping pretty hard. You're right. And the dollar is above 94 as well. It is kind of interesting to see all of those assets moving and the treasuries kind of going nowhere, huh? Okay, here's something interesting from Jake Sherman. This is relatively new. Pelosi says she wants legislative language for reconciliation before the infrastructure package gets a vote. Pelosi also brought up my tweet from earlier this morning and confirmed that she does indeed have the authority to unilaterally delay the vote. Okay. Block buy at 22.5 and strong bid. That does not make me want to sell. Yeah, it's these people are like, we're above the value area, so now I want to see if this is the place for me to do something. No, doesn't matter. What matters is, why are we going to get a flow either way? Right now, I don't, what predictive value do we have of a flow coming in? Okay, then they're trading a lot at 25 half. I'm chatting in Discord if you're wondering why I've gotten so quiet. Small precious metals futures contract, is that like an ETF for metals? I'm not sure where you're getting that from. There is a micro gold though, right? Do you watch the Australian dollar, Japanese yen for risk on, risk off? I read it shows when the carry trade is in play. You know, I have never heard anybody mention that specific flow. That's actually really quite interesting because there is an interesting trade between there. Did Ninja Trader just crash on me? I was not paying attention. Did Ninja Trader just crash? Wait. Oh dear. Anyways, when I'm watching for risk on, risk off, I think that the first thing that I look for is the dollar. Like when it is risk off, the dollar tends to rise. Right? No. Why is that opening up? Oh, that one actually, that indicator does actually work. Ooh, this guy has a big squawk. What is that? Oh yeah, distillate gasoline. Oil's gonna be moving here. Let's see. So far, it looks like they're declining off of that news that we had 3 minutes ago, but not dramatically. Not dramatically. Oh yeah, Anwar was pointing out that absorption at 25. Yeah.
Block sell.
Well, did you see there was like a 3K block buy at 22.5? Now we just had a block sell at 22.5. So there's some big fish participating at 22.5. Now here's the thing though. I don't necessarily want to make a trade off of that. Although I am seeing something unusual here, and that is that there's a decent amount of liquidity being offered at 22.5. Normally, after a trade like that, you would think it would be hard for them to find the liquidity, but they're there. I don't know. That often is the sort of thing that creates a hole. Okay, so like there at 22.5 now, after they ticked up, there's not very much there, so that might get us stuck. Let's see here. So am I in a position? Oh dear. Oh, it never took profits on it. That's interesting. Okay, but can I enable it? It would just sync up. Okay. Stop trigger or trend up. I don't know. So the way that the liquidity is behaving there at 22.5 kind of would have me biased to the short side for sure, because it could be somebody bought a bunch and then they sold it to try and create an ignition event, and that might explain why they're trying to hold a bunch of liquidity there at 22.5, because otherwise it would be really hard for them to have a lot of liquidity there, right? Let's see here. Oh man, you guys said a bunch of stuff and I just didn't see it. What's with that? I'm pretty sure they launder money through art. Have you seen some of the obscene prices paid for art pieces like Steve Mnuchin's dad's silver bunny balloon, 91 million? Yeah. Yeah, some of them is, I'm sure that there is money laundering, but some of it is just that people will pay a high amount for the fine art. Well, I mean, it's like the same thing that's happening in the NFT space. Like some people in the NFT space are probably laundering money. Some people in the NFT space are probably spending obscene amounts through wash trades to try and make the art seem big. But some of it is just to create the market. You know what I mean? Like I'm paying a high amount for fine art because I think that fine art should be worth something. And me paying the money for it increases the value of it in the marketplace and provides more opportunities for artists and things like that. So, and that's probably the largest driver of that kind of flow, right? At the same time, when you get into just like a regular art, probably a lot of artists are underpaid. So, I mean, it's hard to do that stuff and it takes a long time. Okay, anyways, by the way, when I went all quiet, did we have like a little, we did have a little crash in viewers. What was with that? My computer must have done something weird. No, we're back now though. That was really weird. I wonder what the deal was with Ninja Trader crashing too. By the way, how low did we get there? We were like at 507, so maybe from there to there. The E-mini is still kind of meandering there though, so I don't know if. So I kind of have to manage this position manually. It suggests to me, though, still we should be long. At least for the time being. I think that this would be a place where Jay's signal would tend to be pretty okay, since the market doesn't seem to have a really strong bias and may be in wait and see mode. It is a sign perhaps of the confidence that people have in the US that even as the US government barrels towards a cliff, like a car with a drunken driver who's beaten up by his even more drunk passenger, the dollar can strengthen, said Mark Getter of BDS Now. You know, the reporters writing this story were dying to include this line. Forex Live was posting this thing about, how can some analysts posted, how can we be like heading towards a default and the US dollar rising? And Forex Live says, the reporters writing the story were dying to include this line. It's perhaps a sign of confidence that people have the US, that even as the US government barrels towards a cliff like a car with a drunken driver who's been beaten up by his even more drunk passenger, the dollar can strengthen. Yeah. But it's because the market knows that the Democrats are just acting. I really hate this term, trade what you see. No. By the time you see it, it's too late. Ooh, that's a good point. I forget. Ooh, that's a good point. I forgot about the rebalancing trade. I wonder on that. We are not seeing super strong flows today, even though it's like the second to last day of the month. Yeah, it's the 29th. There's not 31 days in September. So today and tomorrow is all they've got to rebalance. Are they already rebalanced, or is there going to be like some massive flows tomorrow? And if there are, I think one flow that we might want to look out for is risk parity funds selling stocks and buying bonds. And that might be why we're seeing some big trades in bonds. Okay, actually, so maybe that is. Or should I have thought about that when that was happening. But if that is the case, I don't necessarily want to go short, right? Like if I'm thinking that the most dominant flow at the moment is going to be risk parity funds selling stocks and buying bonds, then I would want to be buying. Did how much flow was sell here on this? It was a decent amount, actually. It was a decently large flow, like 15,000 contracts or so sell. If it had just kind of fallen on pulling and things like that, then maybe it would have been different, and I could maybe justify going long here again. But because it's not, it still doesn't. The flow still doesn't quite match up. Financial Times has a news story. Boris Johnson under pressure to set out UK's route to net zero emissions. At the longer end. Oh, in the 30-year? Oh, that's a really good point, yeah. I don't know if those funds rebalancing, if you would expect to see it on the long side, on a certain part of the curve. It's been a very quiet last 30 minutes, hasn't it? Now, there's the E-mini going. New highs? New highs? Yes, sir. So I think that Jay would hold it longer, but I'm probably going to close it here soon. I don't like the way that went. Okay, well, Jake Sherman's tweeting again here. By the way, if you really want to follow what's going on in Congress, Jake Sherman is the best guy on Twitter to follow for this stuff. I'm not calling you a troublemaker, but instigator over here working for the will of the American people has clearly stated what the prerogatives are of the Speaker of the House. What? The Speaker has that authority, but I want it to pass. So what we wanted to do is to pass tomorrow, and anything that strengthens the hand of the Speaker helps pass the bill. Okay. And what's this amp? It's posting something about Comex trading floor. Okay. It's just a picture, I think.
Block cell.
Pelosi on Dems voting against the debt limit. I have no patience for people not voting. Didn't see it in that attempt. Well, that kind of looks like post-meta order regime change. They I don't know if there was like people getting stopped out or whatever, but like that flow just stopped. And okay, now the treasuries are back down. So finally, if I had taken a long, I mean, this whole time I wanted to be long, right? If I had taken a long, it would have worked out, but I would have waited a really long time. The only one that would have been good is if I had gotten that 502. Maybe if I had gotten that 502, would have gotten 20 on it. But otherwise, I think that I did the right thing by not taking on any risk today. Like, there was some opportunity. It wasn't a bad day, but there wasn't like, it wasn't, and maybe I'm being stingy because we had so much opportunity earlier in the week and last week, you know? But I think tomorrow might be a little better. Friday will probably be okay too with the GDP, right? And who knows, maybe the E-mini just goes back into risk on mode again and then go back up and peak above 4,400. We shall see. We shall see. I'm not missing anything here, am I? I think we're okay. I think that YouTube might be having some odd, weird stuff going on, but I think that you guys are just listening. Plus, I did go quiet typing for a while. Okay. Oh, what's going on in equity indexes? Hints of bullishness, but quiet. Well, but you know what they say, like never short a quiet market, right? Well, but I think it's time for me to get going here. Yep, 8:55. So again, there's going to be that monetary policy forum. Might be some really good opportunities in the treasuries then. So would want to watch that. But for me, I think no real trades today. Well, Jay took some trades and he did pretty darn good. And hey, look at where I took it off. So this was not his signal. This was not his signal. But look, he took a long in an awesome spot. Just absolutely awesome spot. I think he would still be trying to buy it. But, look at where I took it off at. That was a good exit. Probably, I would have preferred in the 5s, but when you look at the larger thing, like does it really matter? But you can see here how earlier. Okay, so these ones were just kind of like little... it's not really going anywhere. This one was a loss. This one was good. And he just was unlucky. But then that one was great. It made up for the rest. So I'm reasonably happy with it. Anything else? I don't know. Follow me on Twitter. And I'll post about anything about the debt limit if they need to talk. And I should always be mentioning all the things, but if you haven't checked out things like the Patreon, the indicator package for the membership, what else we got here? The mugs, all those things. Go ahead and check those out. But mostly, go and add me on TikTok and Twitter. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. In the meantime, Stay profitable, friends.